Welcome to the deep dive.
Oh.
Okay, let's maybe just picture this for a second.
Yeah.
Imagine a workday where that morning email avalanche, doesn't immediately send your blood pressure through the roof,
Mm-hmm.
or where a demanding client or maybe some unexpected project crisis doesn't completely wreck your entire afternoon.
Yeah, that familiar feeling.
Right. And where you actually find this consistent sense of real satisfaction, maybe even purpose, even when you're doing the really mundane stuff.
That sounds almost utopian, doesn't it?
It really does. It sounds pretty ideal. But for so many of us, I think, the modern professional world just feels like this relentless treadmill. You're constantly reacting, always feeling, perpetually out of control, just scrambling.
Absolutely. We're all trying to navigate these really high-pressure situations, right? And dealing with difficult colleagues, that's a big one. And then there's just that constant pervasive stress of needing to achieve, needing to perform. It often leaves us feeling, well, overwhelmed, frankly. Burned out, even. But what if there was something in ancient wisdom, something that held not just like an abstract answer, but a really practical toolkit, something to actually transform that whole experience?
Oh, okay, I'm listening.
What if it could actually let you cultivate a really profound sense of purpose and, real professionalism, regardless of your job title or all the chaos that might be swirling around you externally?
That's exactly what we want to get into today. That's our mission. We're taking a deep dive into applying Stoic wisdom, specifically directly to the modern workplace. And you brought along this stack of really fascinating sources. I mean, we've got everything from the foundational texts, Epictetus, Seneca, right through to contemporary interpretations, modern case studies.
Yeah, real mix.
It looks great. And we're excited to guide you, the listener, through these insights. We want to reveal some practical techniques that can genuinely help reshape your work life, maybe help you deal with those difficult colleagues or handle high-pressure situations better, and ultimately maybe find some real meaning in the daily grind.
Yeah, moving beyond just coping.
Exactly. So when we first hear that word Stoicism, I think for a lot of people, the immediate picture is maybe stern-faced, emotionless philosophers kind of detached from the real world.
That's the stereotype, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
But what our sources are revealing here is something way more practical, much more psychological, actually, and profoundly human, especially relevant for our busy, often kind of chaotic professional lives.
Yes. What's truly compelling here, I think, is that Stoicism, while, yeah, it's a profound philosophical system, it has this incredibly significant psychological component baked right in.
Okay.
The Stoics weren't just, sitting around thinking abstract thoughts. They were incredibly astute observers of the human mind, and especially its relationship to well-being. They fundamentally understood that a life just plagued with negative emotions, things like anger, anxiety, fear, grief, envy, that's just not going to be a good life.
Right. Makes sense.
And this wasn't just an observation. They developed sophisticated, really practical techniques, things designed explicitly both to prevent those disruptive emotions from even starting and, just as importantly, to extinguish them effectively if they did pop up.
So prevention and cure, kind of.
Exactly. So even if you approach philosophy with a bit of skepticism, maybe, these psychological methods offer a powerful, almost evidence-based way to just reduce the sheer volume of negative feelings you experience day to day at work.
Okay.
Think about how that directly impacts your well-being in the office. It's like a strategy, right? For preventing the office politics or that demanding boss or even that project setback that feels catastrophic. Preventing those things from completely derailing your emotional state, your focus, and ultimately your productivity.
So it's definitely not about becoming some kind of robot who feels nothing. That's not the goal here.
Not at all.
It's more about becoming incredibly effective, maybe emotionally resilient, deeply centered.
Precisely. Emotionally resilient is a great way to put it.
Right. And these ancient thinkers, they clearly saw this powerful connection, didn't they? Almost like a self-reinforcing loop between mastering your inner world and achieving this profound sense of inner peace, like a virtuous feedback cycle.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
The Roman Stoics actually described it as a doubly virtuous circle. It's a concept that really resonates, I think, with our professional struggles today.
Doubly virtuous circle.
Yeah, the core idea is elegantly simple, really. The active, consistent pursuit of virtue. And for them, that meant things like wisdom, courage, justice, self-control. That pursuit naturally brings about a deep and lasting sense of tranquility. Inner peace.
Okay.
And here's the second part of the circle. This tranquility, it isn't just a nice side effect. It actually makes it significantly easier for us to continue pursuing virtue.
Oh, I see. It feeds back into itself.
Exactly. Now think about the alternative. If you're not tranquil, right? If your mind is constantly buzzing, distracted by workplace anger, maybe consumed by anxiety about a deadline, or weighed down by grief over some professional setback, a failed pitch, a lost opportunity, whatever it is, then, as the Stoics put it, your emotions will triumph over your intellect.
Okay, that's a powerful phrase.
Isn't it? And in that state, it becomes incredibly difficult to do what reason tells you to do, to make sound decisions, to act with integrity. This emotional fog, this confusion, it can lead you to misunderstand what things are really good, as Irvine points out.
Right.
And that causes you to fail in pursuing them, and consequently, it hinders your ability to attain true virtue and, well, fulfillment.
Just imagine the difference, maybe in a really high-stakes negotiation or a critical presentation.
Exactly.
If your intellect wasn't constantly battling this, tidal wave of frustration or self-doubt.
That inner calm allows for crystal clear thinking, intentional action, a much greater capacity to lead effectively, compassionately even. The ultimate insight here, I think, is that true professional effectiveness isn't just about the external stuff, the achievements. It's about the profound clarity and resilience that comes from mastering your inner landscape.
That makes perfect sense. It really does. But what about that other thing? That relentless, almost exhausting chase for more that seems to define so much of the modern professional world.
Ah, yes, the ambition treadmill.
Exactly. More promotions, more money, more recognition, bigger team, loftier title. It often feels like we're just on this endless cycle of ambition, constantly wanting what we don't have. Now, the Stoics, being Stoics, they have this really counterintuitive take on how to actually find satisfaction in our careers, didn't they? One that seemed to directly challenge this constant craving. I'm curious, how does that perspective really mesh with ambition? They're basically telling us to just give up on goals.
No, not at all. And that's a really important question, especially for modern professionals who feel caught in that often, unfulfilling cycle of ambition.
Right.
The Stoics aren't pushing for apathy or like a complete lack of drive. That's not it. Instead of endlessly working to satisfy every single desire that pops into our heads, which they saw as, pushing a boulder uphill forever, leading to constant dissatisfaction. Yeah.
The Sisyphus thing.
Exactly. They advise us to master those desires.
To master them.
Oh, yeah. This isn't about ditching goals entirely. It's about actively preventing certain desires from forming in the first place and eliminating many of the desires that have formed. And here's the really radical part, the real game changer, I think.
Okay.
It's about working at wanting the things we already have.
Working at wanting what you already have.
Yeah. William Irvine, in his guide, he states that while this path definitely requires significant self-control and sacrifice, no doubt about it,
True.
the Stoics would argue we are more likely to achieve happiness indeed, joy, by following this path than by spending our life, as most people do, working to fulfill whatever desires pop into our head.
That's a big claim. Joy, even.
It is. Just, take a moment. Think about how much mental energy gets consumed by constantly wanting something you don't have at work.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different role, a higher salary, a more agreeable boss, maybe a less demanding project, or even just wanting more recognition, right? All of the above sometimes.
Right. Redirecting that huge amount of energy inwardly towards appreciating and making the absolute most of your current situation, your current role, your current colleagues. That could unlock this profound and remarkably sustainable contentment.
Sustainable is the key word there, isn't it?
I think so. It's a fundamental shift. You move from seeking external validation, the promotion, the raise, the praise, to cultivating internal satisfaction. That's truly revolutionary in our, let's face it, consumer-driven professional culture.
That inward focus, learning to want what you already have, it really does sound like a path to more sustainable contentment. But, okay, how does someone even begin to sort out what they can control versus what they can't in the messy day-to-day reality of the workplace? It feels tangled sometimes.
It does.
And this brings us perfectly to maybe the most famous Stoic concept of all, often called the dichotomy of control. And honestly, this feels like an absolute game changer for how we approach our professional lives, especially the daily frustrations. It truly is. It's foundational. Epictetus, the former slave who became this incredibly renowned Stoic teacher, he relentlessly stressed this distinction. He saw it as the absolute bedrock of tranquility.
Okay.
He argued very clearly that we have complete control over our internal faculties. That means our judgments, our desires, our aversions, our choices, what he called prohairesis, basically our volition, our moral will. These things are entirely up to us.
Right. My inner world.
Exactly. Conversely, and he was just as adamant about this, we have no control over external things. Things like our physical bodies, our possessions, our reputation in the office, or worldly success like promotions, market conditions, client moods.
Okay, put this stuff outside.
Yeah. And this distinction is absolutely vital because, as our sources make really clear, if your sense of well-being depends on one of these sorts of things, these external factors like hitting a specific career goal or getting that corner office, then you have effectively handed over your happiness to the whims of something or someone else. And as the source says, that's not a good position to be in.
No kidding.
This isn't just, philosophical navel-gazing. It's a fundamental operating principle for finding inner peace in any environment, but especially in the dynamic, often unpredictable workplace.
And Epictetus didn't just sort of state this abstractly. He gave us this incredibly powerful analogy, a metaphor really, that just immediately clicked for me when I first encountered it. Made it so much clearer.
He did, didn't he? The actor analogy.
Yeah.
He suggests thinking of your life as if you were an actor in a play. Now, you haven't chosen your role. That's your job title, your industry, your current company, maybe even your specific department or team.
Right, you're cast.
Your cast. And you don't get to decide what happens in the script.
Yeah.
Those are the market shifts, the company reorganizations, the difficult clients, the unexpected deadlines, even the actions of your colleagues, right? That's the plot unfolding.
Out of your hands.
And you certainly have no control over how long your particular scene or the whole play will last. Whether your company thrives, or you face a layoff, or your big project gets canceled unexpectedly. So rather than fighting against all these things which are inherently out of your control, which is exhausting and futile, your primary task, your job as the actor is simply to play the role you find yourself in as best as you possibly can, with skill, with integrity, with dedication.
Wow. That's a powerful reframe for professional life, isn't it?
It really is. It instantly shifts the focus away from those external outcomes, which are often fleeting and uncertain anyway, and puts it squarely onto your internal performance, your character, your integrity things, which are entirely yours to command no matter what the script throws at you.
So the message isn't about ignoring the external world, right? It's not about becoming passive or just giving up on ambition and letting things just happen to you.
No, definitely not passive.
It's more about a fundamental shift in our attitude towards the external world. It's about where we consciously choose to place our focus and maybe where we derive our sense of self-worth and professional satisfaction from.
Exactly that. As Epictetus put it, in a phrase that really resonates for any professional trying to find clarity. Being educated is learning what is one's own and what is not.
Learning what's mine and what isn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the professional, this means recognizing that while you absolutely can control your effort, your integrity, your commitment to quality work, your thoughtfulness in how you communicate, your response to a difficult client or a challenging project.
The inputs.
The inputs, exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot control the client's ultimate mood, the overall market conditions, your boss's opinion of you necessarily, or whether your brilliant project ultimately gets approved by the higher-ups.
Right, the outcomes.
The outcomes.
Yeah.
And placing your happiness, your sense of success on those latter things, those external uncontrollable factors, is, quite frankly, just a recipe for constant frustration, deep disappointment, and pervasive anxiety. It's setting yourself up for failure, emotionally speaking.
Yeah, I can see that.
Jonas Salzgeber, in the Little Book of Stoicism, he emphasizes this beautifully. He says, we must make sure that our happiness depends as little as possible on outside circumstances. Desiring what's not within our power is the root cause of emotional suffering.
The root cause.
Yeah. It's about strategically, consciously disentangling your inner peace from things that are inherently unstable and just beyond your direct influence.
That really does sound like a pathway to genuine professional freedom. Even if you're in a really structured environment or maybe a job where you feel constrained, where you feel like you have very little say over your day-to-day, it's like an internal autonomy, regardless of what's happening around you.
It truly is. That's the core of it. Epictetus defines freedom, true freedom, as living as one wishes, and he clarifies. This means being someone who is neither subject to compulsion, nor to hindrance, nor to force, whose movements to action, he called them our impulses, our intentions, are not impeded, whose desires attain their purpose, and who does not fall into that which he would avoid.
That's a very internal definition of freedom.
Absolutely. It's all internal. By consciously, consistently limiting your desires and your aversions solely to what you can control, your own volitions, your judgments, your responses, you achieve this internal state that is autonomous, unhindered, and fundamentally unshakable.
Unshakable, I like that.
Yeah. So it means that regardless of external workplace pressures, unexpected setbacks, the whims of difficult colleagues, or the fluctuating demands of your industry, your inner peace, your sense of self, they remain untouchable. You become the master of your own internal experience. And for the Stoics, that is the only true and lasting freedom available to any of us.
Okay, so if we accept this, if we really internalize that we can't control everything externally, how do we then deal with the really intense, sometimes overwhelming emotions that inevitably bubble up at work?
Right, because they still happen.
They still happen. That gnawing frustration when a project stalls, the outright anger at a colleague's maybe perceived incompetence, the paralyzing stress of a looming deadline or a massive presentation. These aren't just minor irritations, are they? They can consume us, dictate how we react, and really erode our professional effectiveness.
Absolutely. And this is where Stoic psychology, I think, truly shines. They had a really sophisticated understanding of emotions. Anger, in particular, was something they thought about a lot.
Yeah, Seneca wrote a whole treatise on it, right?
He did, on anger. And Seneca, who tutored Emperor Nero, mind you, so he saw power and anger up close.
Good point.
He argued forcefully that it is always better to act calmly, from a sense of loyalty or duty or justice, rather than just raging for revenge or reacting impulsively out of pure fury.
Yeah.
He even suggested that while anger might seem like it spurs us on to fight wrongdoing, righteous indignation,
Yeah, that feeling.
he argued that virtues like courage, justice, and deliberate reason are far superior guides. They're more reliable, more sustainable, and ultimately more effective ways to achieve positive change.
Interesting. So reason over rage, essentially.
Precisely. And Seneca also described anger in these really vivid physical terms. He called it a disease of the body characterized by swelling. He noted the telltale physical symptoms, the racing heart, the rising temperature, the flushed face.
We all know those signs.
We do. And he understood that once those physical symptoms are in full swing, once the adrenaline's pumping, there's nothing we can do to make them go away except wait.
Just ride it out.
Yeah. And that profound observation really highlights the critical importance of interception, catching the emotion at its earliest stage before it takes full hold and hijacks your rational mind.
And Seneca had that incredible, almost shocking story, didn't he? The one that perfectly illustrates just how powerful and destructive unchecked anger can be, especially for someone in a position of power, like in a workplace hierarchy.
He did. The story of Vedius Pollio, a wealthy Roman apparently, who, in this uncontrolled fit of rage because a slave accidentally broke a crystal cup.
Just a cup.
Just a cup. He ordered the slave to be fed to his lampreys. These are like large eel-like fish with nasty teeth.
Oh my gosh, that's horrifying.
It's horrifying. But Emperor Augustus happened to be a guest at the dinner, and Augustus was so appalled by this grotesque overreaction that he intervened. He ordered the slave spared. And then, in this really poignant display of both justice and, I think, an understanding of human psychology, he ordered all of Vedius's other precious crystal cups to be broken instead.
Wow. Turning the tables.
Yeah. Seneca would argue this shocking incident illustrates a profound truth, that the extent and expression of our anger are up to us. It's a stark reminder, maybe an extreme one, but a reminder nonetheless that even in situations where we feel profoundly wronged or frustrated by a workplace mistake, our reaction is always fundamentally a choice.
So the key isn't to try and suppress the emotion entirely, right? To just bottle it up and pretend it's not there. Because we all know that doesn't work. It's not healthy.
No, suppression isn't the goal.
It's more about intercepting it, catching it at the earliest possible moment, before it really takes hold and overwhelms our reason, our professionalism.
Precisely. Interception is the key word. Emotions, for the Stoics, are ultimately the product of a judgment made in the mind.
A product of judgment.
Yeah. This means they aren't these uncontrollable forces that just wash over us. Rather, there's something we can influence and ideally avoid triggering in the future by consciously altering the underlying judgments that cause them.
How do you do that in the moment, though?
The core technique is the pause. Just pause. When you feel that initial surge of irritation or anger or frustration rising in response to something at work, maybe it's a critical email landing in your inbox, maybe a colleague's passive-aggressive comment, maybe a project suddenly going completely off the rails, you consciously step back. just for a second. You recognize where that anger or frustration is pointed, and then you consciously, rationally analyze it.
Analyze it.
Oh, initially, this might even involve mentally or even physically writing out your analysis. Like, okay, what judgment am I making here? Is it accurate? Is it helpful? Get it out of your head. But the ultimate goal is to internalize this process, to be able to do it on the fly in real time.
Or like a mental reflex.
Exactly. This practice, it's outlined clearly in a handbook for new Stoics, involves catching and analyzing your anger early, countering it with rational thought. You ask yourself those questions. What's the judgment here? Is it true? Is it useful?
Just imagine the difference that could make in professional relationships, right?
Huge.
And your own internal peace, your overall effectiveness. If you could actually rationally address a frustrating situation instead of just reacting with impulsive, maybe potentially damaging anger or resentment.
It's about choosing wisdom over reaction every single time, or at least practicing that choice.
Okay, that sounds incredibly powerful for those moments of direct confrontation or acute frustration. But what about the broader range of negative reactions? Like feeling completely overwhelmed or maybe even victimized when things just generally go wrong at work.
Yeah, the downward spiral.
Exactly. A project unexpectedly fails, maybe a client gives really harsh, maybe undeserved feedback, or even something bigger like a company restructuring or a layoff. We often spiral into really negative self-talk in those situations.
Absolutely. And this is where Epictetus offers another really powerful mental exercise. It's directed against what he called appearances or phantasias.
Fantasious.
Yeah. Phantasias are our initial impressions or perceptions of events. And the problem is they're often immediately colored by our personal judgments and emotions before we even realize it.
Right, we jump to conclusions.
We do. So when something seemingly bad happens, let's take your examples. A project failure, a critical email, news of a layoff. Epictetus instructs you to state the bare objective fact without adding your personal judgment or emotional interpretation.
Just the facts.
Just the facts. So instead of thinking or saying, my project failed and now everything is ruined, my career is over, I'm a complete failure, which is easy to do.
Yeah, the catastrophe narrative.
Exactly. You simply say, my project failed, full stop. For a critical email, you state, I received a critical email. Epictetus gives these really stark examples like, your son is dead. What has happened? Your son is dead. Nothing more. Nothing.
Wow. That's blunt.
It's blunt, but the crucial insight is this. The affliction is a thing which depends on the will. It is an evil, meaning the suffering comes from our judgment. This applies directly to professional setbacks. The event itself, the failed project, the critical email, even the layoff is often neutral in the grand scheme of things. It's your judgment of it that makes it good or bad, ruinous or manageable.
So the event itself isn't what causes the suffering, or the overwhelm, or the feeling of victimization. It's our interpretation of it, our story about it, maybe.
Exactly. That's perfectly put, our story about it. The key insight here, articulated really well by A.A. Long, is that the cause of these morbid, overwhelming emotions is not external situations as such, but ourselves, inasmuch as we misdescribe and misjudge those situations and affect ourselves accordingly.
We affect ourselves.
Yeah. By stripping away that initial, often automatic layer of emotional judgment, this is terrible, this is unfair, this ruins everything, we gain crucial mental space, breathing room.
Right.
And that space allows us to choose a rational, measured, purposeful response rather than just being swept away by an appearance that we've already labeled as catastrophic. This practice, it lets you maintain composure, clarity, and professionalism even in the most challenging and externally disruptive work situations. It's truly a pathway to internal resilience.
That idea of stripping away the judgment to see things more clearly, it leads us right into how Stoicism helps us build that true resilience. Because work isn't always smooth sailing, let's be honest.
Far from it.
There are difficult colleagues, really tough projects that stretch us to our absolute limits, unexpected crises that can throw even the most prepared, most organized professional completely off balance.
Yeah.
How does Stoicism help us not just, survive these situations, but actually thrive in them, build lasting inner strength from them?
Well, the Stoics had this really fascinating perspective on adversity. They didn't see it as something purely negative to be avoided at all costs. Instead, they viewed it as a profound opportunity, an opportunity for growth, for character development.
An opportunity. Right.
Yeah. Seneca used that powerful, maybe surprising analogy again. He said that just as a wise general sends his finest, most seasoned soldiers into the most difficult battles because they're the ones best equipped to handle the heat.
Right. You send in the best.
Exactly. So too does God or fate or the universe, however you want to frame it, send the toughest challenges to the most worthy, the most virtuous individuals.
Huh. That's a twist.
It is. So from this perspective, experiencing adversity isn't a sign of misfortune or bad luck. It's actually a mark of having a strong, virtuous character. It's like a proving ground, a test.
Right.
Conversely, Seneca argued, and this is radical too, that unending luxury and wealth, constant ease, that's the real misfortune. Why? Because it tends to make us lazy, complacent, ungrateful, and greedy for more.
You get soft, maybe.
You get soft. Without challenges, without friction, we can never truly develop those core virtues like patience, courage, perseverance, resilience. So therefore, whatever adversity life throws at us, especially in the workplace, it will always be an opportunity to learn something profound about ourselves and to improve our characters. It's about completely reframing the very nature of difficulty.
So instead of wishing away the tough stuff at work, that impossible deadline, that really uncooperative team member, or that sudden unexpected crisis hitting the fan, we should actually try to embrace it. See it as a chance to strengthen our character, build resilience. That's a huge, almost radical shift in perspective from how most of us naturally approach our professional challenges.
It is a radical shift, but it's incredibly powerful. And we see this principle demonstrated not just in abstract theory, but in real-world stories of extreme hardship, people who actually lived this.
Okay, like who?
Well, consider James Stockdale, the Navy pilot shot down over Vietnam in 1965. He was held as a prisoner of war until 1973.
Wow, 8 years.
8 years. He endured unimaginable conditions, poor health, primitive living situations, the constant brutality of his jailers. Yet he didn't just survive. He emerged an unbroken man. And he largely credited his conscious practice of Stoicism for that. It allowed him to control his internal state, his responses, amidst that unimaginable external duress.
Focusing on what he could control.
Exactly. He understood the dichotomy of control at this incredibly visceral level. He focused only on his response, his integrity, his duty to his fellow prisoners. That was his sphere.
And it's not just these extreme historical examples from wartime, right? Our sources mention modern examples too, don't they? People bringing this resilience into more contemporary challenges, things may be closer to what many of us face.
Indeed. It's not just for POWs. Take Rhonda Cornum. She was a flight surgeon shot down in the first Gulf War.
Yeah.
She endured horrific injuries, broken arms, a shattered knee, and sexual assault while she was a POW. Yet she later said, with this incredible fortitude, being a POW is the rape of your entire life. But what I learned in those Iraqi bunkers and prison cells is that the experience doesn't have to be devastating, that it depends on you.
Wow. It depends on you.
That's pure Stoicism right there.
Isn't it? It's an incredibly powerful testament to that core idea.
Yeah.
Our response to external events, no matter how horrific they seem, is ultimately within our control.
Yeah.
And there's another compelling modern example shared by Jules Evans, a guy named Brett, who overcame a really terrible childhood by realizing fundamentally that he couldn't control his past. He couldn't control other people's behavior.
But he could control his own thoughts and his own choices. And he still applies Epictetus's lesson today to manage stress in his high-powered catering job. He's constantly reminding himself what is in my control and what isn't, and consciously choosing not to overreact to the situation.
So these people, they chose to reinterpret their circumstances. They didn't see them as definitive, crippling setbacks, but more like proving grounds for their character, their integrity, their internal strength.
Exactly. They found agency.
What really stands out to me about all these examples, historical and modern, is that profound shift in perspective. Seeing obstacles not as these inherent roadblocks designed purely to stop you, but as exercises. Exercises for personal growth. It's a very active, almost defiant approach to adversity, wouldn't you say?
It is defiant, in a way. And it's utterly transformative when you can make that shift. As the modern Stoic writer Ryan Holiday observes, where one person sees a crisis, another can see opportunity.
Right. Same event, different lens.
Same event, different lens. These individuals chose to reinterpret their circumstances, finding agency even in situations that seem to offer absolutely none. Think about Abraham Lincoln. His favorite saying, apparently, was, "This too shall pass."
Mm-hmm.
Classic. That highlights a deeply Stoic acceptance of the transient nature of even the most difficult trials. Holiday notes that Lincoln's will allowed him to resign himself to an onerous task without giving in to hopelessness. He demonstrated this profound inner fortitude that was clearly built through repeated challenges. It's not about being naive or pretending things aren't hard. It's about being strategically robust in the face of reality.
It's really about developing that hard winter training that Epictetus talked about, isn't it? Consciously preparing ourselves for whatever might come our way, rather than just sort of hoping for the best and then being completely caught off guard when things inevitably get tough, because they will get tough.
Yes, exactly. That hard winter training metaphor is perfect. Epictetus explicitly counseled, "Neither a bull nor a noble-spirited man comes to be what he is all at once. He must undertake hard winter training and prepare himself and not propel himself rashly into what is not appropriate to him."
So it takes practice, preparation.
Yes. And this isn't just about physical preparation, obviously. It implies consciously seeking out opportunities for what some Stoics called voluntary discomfort.
Voluntary discomfort, like what?
Well, it could be mentally rehearsing challenging scenarios. It could be deliberately taking on difficult tasks at work that push your boundaries. It could even be embracing minor inconveniences in your daily life, like taking a cold shower or fasting occasionally, or just consciously choosing the harder path sometimes, all with the goal of building mental fortitude.
Okay, so it's like cross-training for the mind.
Exactly. It's much like a professional athlete practicing really challenging drills, doing strength training, maybe cross-training in different disciplines, all in anticipation of a tough game or competition. They're honing their skills and their resilience, so they are ready for anything the competition throws at them.
Right, you don't just show up on game day.
You don't just show up. This isn't about masochism. It's not about self-punishment. It's about strategic, continuous self-development, preparing yourself for the inevitable difficulties and pressures of life and work. By engaging in these deliberate acts of mental training, you condition your mind. You make it strong, adaptable, and composed, ready for when true adversity strikes.
Okay, so this resilience piece is huge. But what does all this mean for finding a deeper, maybe more profound sense of purpose and professionalism in our careers? Beyond just coping with stress better or building personal resilience, can Stoicism truly help us find meaning in the daily grind? That powerful feeling that our work genuinely matters, beyond just the paycheck or the job title.
Absolutely. I really believe it can. For the Stoics, living well wasn't solely about individual tranquility or just self-improvement in isolation. It was fundamentally about fulfilling our roles within the wider community, contributing to the common good.
Community.
Okay. Yeah. Hierocles, a slightly less well-known Stoic from the imperial period, he outlined this really powerful idea of expanding circles of concern.
Expanding circles. Tell me more.
It starts with ourselves, right? The inner circle. Then it moves outwards to embrace our immediate family, then our local community, our neighbors, our city, and eventually it expands to encompass all humankind.
Wow. From self to humanity.
Exactly. And this concept beautifully illustrates that our individual well-being and purpose are intrinsically linked to the well-being of others. The Stoics fundamentally believed, as Christopher Gill explains, that we have a duty of care to all other human beings. As we develop our rationality, we shall come to see ourselves as members of a single, global community of all humankind.
So this completely reframes our professional duties, doesn't it? It connects them to something much, much larger than just our personal gain or a specific job title or even just our company's bottom line.
It really does.
It's like seeing our work as part of this grander human endeavor.
Yeah.
A contribution, however small, to a shared human project.
Precisely. It fosters what they called a cosmopolitan view, a view where, as Emperor Marcus Aurelius so eloquently reflected, "My city and my fatherland, insofar as I am Antoninus's name, is Rome. But insofar as I am a man, it is the world."
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? So from this expansive perspective, your actions at work, even if they seem small or localized within your department or your industry, they're seen as contributing to this larger human project. It fosters this sense of universal interconnectedness, shared responsibility. Marcus Aurelius explicitly wrote that the primary constituent in the makeup of human beings is therefore the tendency to act for the common good.
The tendency to act for the common good.
Yeah. So being a professional, from this viewpoint, isn't just about personal achievement or narrowly defined success metrics. It's about how your efforts, your integrity, your unique skills serve and benefit the collective. We see this unwavering commitment to duty and integrity throughout history in Stoic figures.
Like who?
Well, consider Helvidius Priscus. He was a Stoic senator who, despite facing exile and eventually execution under Emperor Vespasian—
High stakes.
very high stakes, he insisted on standing up to the emperor to defend his rights and indeed those of all members of the Senate. This just showcases that Stoic commitment to civic duty, to unwavering integrity in one's professional and political role, even when facing overwhelming power and immense personal risk. His professional purpose was inextricably linked to the common good, to justice.
That's incredibly inspiring. And, okay, while it's not strictly Stoic in origin, our sources also bring in Viktor Frankl's logotherapy. That seems to echo this search for meaning in really profound ways, doesn't it? Especially when facing hardship. Feels like a really powerful complementary layer to understanding purpose, particularly in the workplace.
Indeed, it complements it beautifully. Frankl's logotherapy, which famously grew out of his harrowing experiences surviving Nazi concentration camps.
Right, man's search for meaning.
Exactly. It profoundly complements these Stoic ideas, especially around finding purpose amidst incredibly difficult circumstances. Frankl discovered firsthand that meaning was a source of unbelievable levels of resilience.
Unbelievable level.
Yeah, but for him, meaning isn't some abstract intellectual value, something we just invent or impose on a meaningless world, like some existentialists might argue.
Right.
Instead, Frankl believed meaning is discovered, experienced, and lived out in choices that engage the circumstances of life.
Discovered, experienced, lived out.
Oh, yeah. This is a key distinction. Frankl believed the meaning is already present within reality. It's inherent in the situation. The critical question then becomes, how can a person make choices that will reveal the meaning that is already present?
How can we reveal the meaning?
Yes. So what does this mean for work? It means that even in a job that seems meaningless on the surface, maybe repetitive, maybe unfulfilling in conventional ways, a Stoic-informed approach, combined with Frankl's insights, encourages you to actively seek and embody meaning through your choices, your actions, and your attitude towards your responsibilities in that role.
So meaning is in the response, not the role itself.
Largely, yes, Frankl asserts. Each life situation confronting us places a demand on us, presents a question to us, a question to which we have to answer by doing something about the given situation. Your job, whatever it is, presents a unique set of demands and questions, and your response to those informed by Stoic virtue like integrity and courage, and by this active search for meaning that's precisely where purpose is forged, it's how you can potentially turn any job into a true vocation.
That's incredibly powerful. The idea that meaning isn't something external we have to find, like buried treasure, but something internal that we activate through our choices and responses, especially at work. Okay, so this all sounds incredibly potent in theory. It offers this complete philosophical toolkit almost for navigating the modern workplace. But how do we actually do this stuff?
The practicality.
Yeah, the practicalities. What are the concrete, actionable steps for integrating Stoicism into our daily work lives? Beyond just reading about it, how do we put this into practice, like starting Monday morning?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the Stoics were intensely practical people. They really emphasized continuous, deliberate practice. This wasn't some philosophy meant to be merely studied in an armchair and debated. It was a rigorous way of life, something to be actively lived and trained for every single day.
Training, like the winter training idea again.
Exactly. Seneca, for instance, he outlined this clear process of evening reflection. He'd review his day, asking himself, what did I do well today according to my principles? Where did my attention slip? How could I have done better?
A daily debrief.
A daily debrief with yourself. Epictetus went even further. He likened the Stoic practitioner to a mariner who needs to be focused every single moment of the day, prepared for whatever might happen next. Constant vigilance. The essence is, as Sellers puts it, that we must keep our key philosophical principles always ready to hand, like tools in a mental toolbox, so that we don't fall back into making mistaken judgments. It's about constant mental conditioning, building habits of thought, habits of response.
So it's definitely not just a one-time intellectual exercise you pull out only when things go wrong. It's about constant vigilance, self-assessment, almost like keeping an internal audit running. It does remind me a bit of an athlete's daily training log, track performance, identifying areas for improvement.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. It's a daily regimen, a continuous practice of sharpening your mind and your character. So let's get concrete. Here are a few practical applications drawn directly from our sources that you, the listener, can integrate into your professional routine, maybe starting today, to help find more meaning, handle stress better, and maybe deal with those difficult colleagues more effectively.
Okay, let's hear them. Actionable steps.
Right. First, morning preparation, using implementation intentions.
Implementation intention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, start your day not by immediately diving into the email vortex, but by taking maybe just 5 minutes to review your intentions for the day. Before the workday even officially kicks off, clearly define what specific areas of speech or action you want to focus on.
Like setting goals for your behavior.
Exactly. You might consciously decide, okay, today I'm going to limit my complaints about office politics, or today I will practice genuine patience with that particularly challenging client, or today I will maintain focused, uninterrupted work on my top priority task for the first 2 hours.
Got it. Be specific.
Be specific. This primes your mind. It sets a conscious intention for how you want to engage with the day's inevitable events and challenges. It's like setting your internal GPS towards virtue for the day.
Okay, number 1, morning prep. What's next?
Number 2, emotional interception. The pause. This is absolutely crucial for disarming that workplace negativity we talked about.
A pause.
When you feel that initial surge, anger, frustration, fear rising in response to something at work, maybe it's a sudden unreasonable demand from your manager, a cutting remark from a colleague, that critical email, a big project setback. You consciously pause.
Just stop.
Just stop, take a deep breath, ask yourself, is this specific external event truly within my direct control? Now, if the external event itself isn't in your control, and usually it isn't,
Right.
acknowledge the bare objective fact, like, okay, the project deadline was moved, or my colleague made that critical remark, or the client rejected the proposal. Acknowledge it, but consciously and deliberately refuse to add the judgment, this is bad, this is unfair, this is catastrophic.
Separate fact from judgment.
Exactly. Practice Epictetus's technique. State the bare fact without the emotional embellishment. This small but incredibly powerful pause creates vital mental space between the event and your potential reaction. And that space allows you to choose a rational response instead of an impulsive, often regrettable one.
Okay, pause and separate. Number 3.
Number 3, reframing adversity the opportunity mindset.
The obstacle is the way idea.
Precisely. When challenges inevitably arise, and they absolutely will, whether it's that difficult colleague, a significant setback, an exceptionally demanding task, maybe even a perceived personal failure, consciously reframe it. Instead of seeing these things purely as burdens or problems, actively try to see them as opportunities.
Yeah.
These aren't just roadblocks. These are chances to practice and strengthen those virtues we talked about. Patience, resilience, courage, integrity, professionalism. Remember Seneca's analogy. Tough challenges are sent to the worthy.
Right. The general sending his best troops.
Exactly. So think, okay, this impossible deadline, it's actually an opportunity to practice my focus and self-discipline. Or this difficult client, this is a chance for me to cultivate my patience and my communication skills under pressure. It transforms every obstacle into an exercise for growth.
Okay, reframe adversity. Number 4.
Number 4, embrace your role, the actor's task.
Back to the actor analogy.
Back to the actor.
Yeah.
View your current professional role, your current career path, like an actor views their assigned part in a play. Commit to playing it as best as you can, with dignity, with excellence.
Even if you don't love the part.
Even if you don't love the part. This applies regardless of whether you personally chose the specific role, whether you approve of the script, company policy, industry trends, market conditions, or even how long you know your performance will last. Find dignity and purpose in executing your current responsibilities with excellence and integrity. Your professional identity, your satisfaction, it becomes defined by how you perform the role, by your choices and your character in that role, not necessarily by the role itself or its external rewards. This can help cultivate real pride in the work itself, whatever it is.
Okay, embrace your role. And the last one, number 5.
Number 5, evening reflection, the self-audit.
Seneca's practice.
Seneca's practice. Take just a few minutes at the end of each workday, maybe, before you physically leave the office, or perhaps once you're settled at home, away from the immediate pressures. Review your actions and reactions from the day. Ask yourself specific questions.
Like what?
Like, where did I successfully maintain my Stoic principles today? Did I pause? Did I reframe? Or where did my attention slip? Where did my emotions get the better of me? And crucially, how could I have responded more effectively or more virtuously in that particular situation? What will I specifically focus on improving tomorrow?
Be honest with yourself.
Be ruthlessly honest, but also compassionate. This consistent self-audit cultivates that crucial self-awareness. It drives continuous improvement in how you actually apply these principles day to day. It's how you learn, how you adapt, and how you build true wisdom over time, not just theoretical knowledge.
These 5 practices, They really sound like building mental strength, don't they? Like an athlete training rigorously for a competition, making sure you're always operating at your peak, internally, regardless of what's happening externally. It really is about training your mind just as deliberately as you might train your body.
Indeed. That's exactly the spirit. Epictetus, remember, frequently used those military and athletic metaphors. He emphasized unremitting commitment and seriousness. He knew that acquiring this kind of mental strength, this emotional health, it isn't a shortcut. There's no magic pill. It's a continuous training process.
Right.
But by consistently engaging in these daily practices, the morning prep, the pause, the reframing, embracing the role, the evening reflection, you are constantly honing your internal faculties. You're building that robust inner fortress, brick by brick, making it increasingly impervious to external disruptions. And this allows you to perform your professional duties with more clarity, more purpose, and ultimately a profound sense of inner peace. It really can transform the daily grind into a genuine path of self-mastery and professional fulfillment. It's about being prepared, always.
So wrapping this all up,
Mm-hmm.
what does this really mean for you, the listener, as you navigate your own professional world, as you aim for a career that feels more fulfilling, less stressful, and truly meaningful?
Well, if we connect all these threads back to the bigger picture, Stoicism offers this profound, truly transformative shift in perspective. It encourages you, urges you really, to stop seeing the often perceived grind of work as just something to be endured, something to get through until Friday.
Mm-hmm. Waiting for the weekend.
Exactly. And instead, to see it as a proving ground. A proving ground for your character, for your professionalism, for your deepest values. By relentlessly, consciously focusing on what is unequivocally within your control, your judgments, your intentions, your reactions to everything that comes your way, you can cultivate a deep sense of inner peace and an enduring purpose. And this can happen regardless of the external circumstances, like difficult colleagues, high-pressure situations, or economic uncertainties.
So you stop being just a passive recipient.
Exactly. You stop being a passive recipient of your work life, tossed around by events, and you become its active, intentional, and purposeful shaper. You start finding meaning in every choice you make, every action you take, right there in the midst of the grind.
It sounds like moving from feeling perpetually overwhelmed, maybe by information overload, by external pressures, by other people's demands, to being truly well-informed about your own internal power and learning how to wield that power effectively and virtuously in every single professional interaction and challenge you face.
Precisely. So maybe consider this provocative thought as you move forward in your own professional life. If your career, your daily work, if it is indeed like a play, as Epictetus suggested, what kind of actor will you choose to be? Will you be the kind of actor who resents their lines, wishes they had a different role, complains about the script, and lets those external circumstances dictate a mediocre, uninspired performance? Or will you choose to be the kind of actor who embodies their role, whatever it is, with such integrity, such purpose, such deliberate excellence, that they actually elevate the entire performance? Someone who makes the absolute best of every single scene, no matter how challenging it might be. Someone who truly finds profound meaning right there, in the grind itself. The choice, as the Stoics constantly remind us, is always yours.